On June 8, 793 AD, from the cold, fierce waves of the North Sea, several long Norse ships suddenly appeared. On board were the warriors whom Europe of that time called Northern Barbarians, but who called themselves Norsemen, or Men of the North. Their target was Lindisfarne, also known as the Holy Island Monastery, located on the eastern coast of England. For the Europeans, this island was more than a religious center, it was considered sacred. The monks lived in isolation, never imagining the danger approaching from the sea. But that morning, everything changed. The Vikings landed on the island and launched a swift attack on the monastery. Swords clashed, doors were broken down, sacred treasures were plundered, many monks were killed, and the survivors were taken prisoner. Part of the monastery was set on fire. News of this spread like wildfire across Europe, and chronicles of the time described the day as the day the world's end drew near. Historians now regard this raid as the beginning of the Viking Age. Over the following centuries, the Vikings left their mark across Europe, in England, France, Ireland, Scotland, Spain, and even the Mediterranean. And throughout this long Viking era, one name stands out above all others: Ragnar Lodbrok. Ragnar's story is a mix of history and legend. Most of what we know comes from Icelandic sagas, Hrafnsmál, Ragnarssona a with a QTTR, and Gesta Danorum. Many of these sources were written 200 to 300 years after the events, so it is difficult to separate fact from myth. But a few things are certain. Ragnar, or at least the person who inspired the tales, was a Viking leader who lived in the 9th century. His sons, Ivar the Boneless, Ubba, Halfdan Ragnarsson, and Bjorn Ironside, are historically recorded figures. Each of them led major campaigns. In the sagas, Ragnar is depicted as the legendary king of Sweden and Denmark. He is a hero, an adventurer, a fierce and fearless leader. His unusual nickname, Lodbrok, means hairy breeches, or leather pants Ragnar. Some sources say he earned this name after wearing special leather trousers in a battle against a giant serpent. All of this, of course, belongs to legend. But there is one major event supported by historical evidence: Ragnar's siege of Paris in 845. In 845, over 120 Viking longships sailed up the productive lands along the Seine River in the Frankish kingdom. At the head of this fleet was a Viking leader referred to by various names: Ragnaris, Reginhari, Ragnar. Frankish sources clearly state, the Vikings reached Paris and laid siege to the city. King Charles the Bald could not defend it. As a result, in order to prevent Paris from being burned, the Vikings were paid 7,000 pounds of silver, an astronomical sum for that time. The Franks described Ragnar's army as terrifying and ruthless. This campaign marked the first time Ragnar's name became widely known across Europe. And if the Ragnar described in the sagas was a real historical figure, it is very likely he was the leader of this Paris raid. The most dramatic part of the sagas concerns Ragnar Lodbrok's final expedition and death. According to the tales, in his later years, Ragnar began to feel overshadowed by the fame of his sons. Bjorn Ironside campaigned as far as the Mediterranean, Ivar achieved major victories in Britain, and Ubba and Halfdan gained great influence in the Irish Sea. Though this brought Ragnar pride, it also sparked a quiet fire of envy. One day, he decided, "With a small band, I will conquer England and show everyone who the true Viking king is." It was a bold, perhaps reckless, plan. Ragnar set sail for England with only 3 longships and a small band of warriors. His target was the kingdom of Northumbria, then ruled by King Ælla. But this time, fortune was not on his side. They faced a severe storm at sea, and by the time they reached the shore, their forces were few. Ragnar was calm but determined. Retreat was not an option. According to the sagas, when Ragnar and his men landed, the Northumbrian army immediately surrounded them. Despite fighting bravely, he was outnumbered and captured. King Ælla, aware of Ragnar Lodbrok's courage, feared that killing him by ordinary means would only elevate him into legend. According to the saga, Ælla chose the cruelest method. He threw Ragnar into a pit filled with venomous snakes. As he fell into the pit, Ragnar famously said, "If the little pigs knew how the big boar suffers, they would squeal," meaning, if my sons knew what had been done to me, there would be an uproar. This marked the beginning of his son's legendary vengeance. News of Ragnar's death reached Scandinavia and shook the north to its core. According to legend and history, at least 5 of Ragnar Lodbrok's sons swore an oath upon hearing it: King Ælla of Northumbria will not escape justice. These sons were Ivar the Boneless, Halfdan Ragnarsson, Ubba, Bjorn Ironside, and Sigurd Snake in the Eye. Among them, the smartest and most strategic was Ivar. He united the Viking clans, gathering thousands of warriors from Denmark, Norway, and Sweden to form the legendary Great Heathen Army in 865. This army sailed to England in hundreds of ships. English chronicles describe it as incredibly large, a force never before seen in England, like an endless black wave. The Vikings toppled the English kingdoms one by one, eventually reaching Northumbria. King Ælla was captured in battle in 867. Chronicles differ on the details. English sources claim Ælla was killed in battle, while sagas say he was executed alive using the blood eagle ritual. Which account is accurate is unknown. But one thing is clear: Ragnar Lodbrok's death did not go unavenged. The Vikings seized much of England and established the Danelaw in eastern England. The Great Heathen Army ruled the region for over a decade, implementing Viking governance. Sources about Ragnar Lodbrok are often contradictory. Sometimes he is a dragon-slaying hero, sometimes a king of Denmark, and sometimes merely a reckless adventurer. Historians generally believe that Ragnar Lodbrok was not a single person. He was likely a composite legendary figure, inspired by several 9th-century Viking leaders, especially the leader of the Paris raid. Yet, the legend aside, his sons were real, their campaigns were real, and their vengeance profoundly changed English history. Ragnar Lodbrok may be more a hero of legend than history, but his impact was undeniably real. The mysterious Viking king continued to shape history even after his death.
Thank you so much for watching. If you find this story interesting, don't forget the like video and subscribe to the channel for more historical content. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss our next video. Stay safe and see you next time.